Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in my last video, I wanted to put on as little makeup as possible, something a little bit more summertime friendly, something lightweight. So today I figured we'd go in the complete opposite direction and put on a full cakey mask. But really though, today I wanted to go ahead and show you guys my current full beat routine as far as my complexion makeup goes, because I don't know that I've ever done a video like that, and if I have, it's been a long time. And over the last few weeks, I've been using the Studio Fix fluid quite a bit, so that's what I'm going to be using today. And if you've already been here before, then you probably already know that I have very oily skin, so as far as moisturizers go, I keep it really lightweight. Today I use the Body Shop Vitamin E Aqua Boost Essence Lotion. It's like a really liquidy serum, and I really like this stuff, especially underneath a foundation. And then I went ahead and used the MAC Fast Response Eye Cream all around my eyes, over, under, and I've let that sit on there for probably a good, honestly, it's been about an hour at this point. So I'm gonna start with one pump of the Studio Fix fluid on a beauty blender, and I do not believe in foundation primers. I think, honestly, for me anyway, maybe they work for you. For me personally, they really just add another layer of yuck to my skin that I really do not need. So what I actually prefer to do is to take that one pump of foundation and spread that around my entire face. And you're not really gonna get much coverage on that first layer, so this is gonna actually act as your primer. Just get like a light layer of that down, let that kind of sink into the pores a little bit, let that become one with the skin, even everything out a little bit for you. And then going back in with that second layer of foundation is really gonna help to completely cover everything and make everything look nice and smooth and nice and flawless. So that for me is a primer. Now I'm gonna go back in with another pump. I start in the center. I actually start on my nose because like my nose and my cheek area tend to be the reddest. I mean, I'm pretty red all over anyway, but since I want the middle part of my face to have the most coverage, that's really where I start. So for concealer and for an eyeshadow primer, I'm gonna go in with the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Concealer. I'm gonna use the shade Light Ivory. I've been using the light medium beige, and honestly, I just find it to be too dark. The Light Ivory, I bought this one and I started using it, and I found that this isn't really that light either, and this is the lightest shade that they offer. It's funny because, I mean, you definitely see, and I mean, I understand why, but you see a lot of backlash against companies for not creating shades that are dark enough, but I think they really need to extend shade ranges into the lighter shades too, because I know so many people that are so ridiculously fair that their natural skin tone is like paper white, and I feel like they have a really hard time finding foundation shades just as much as like the deepest of skin tones. And even for me, somebody that's just like your run-of-the-mill mid-toned white dude, I have a hard time finding a shade match with foundations too. It's not just about light and dark, it's definitely about tone as well. I feel like so many of the companies just don't have the tone right on foundation. So even if you find something that matches your level of dark or light, it probably still isn't gonna be the exact same color, you know what I mean? Now, luckily for me, I have so many tattoos that it's easy to kind of like distract and not really have it matter if the shade isn't completely perfect. Because again, there's so many areas that are kind of like chopped up. So like, you know, I've got a tattoo here, I've got a tattoo here, I've got tattoos on my hands and on my arms. So I can pretty much make everything work, but it's not gonna be like that for most people. And I'm just gonna blend that concealer onto my eyelid with this little flat top kabuki brush that I use all the time. I got this in a Morphe vegan brush set, and I don't think they sell this just on its own. I'm sure that there's like dupes for this out there everywhere, but I've had this brush for like 3 or 4 years and it's still perfect, so. And this is the only thing it gets used for. And then when it comes to the under eye, I'm gonna go ahead and just get my beauty blender in there and kind of blend that down into like my cheek area, just so we can get a little bit of brightness underneath the eyes. Yeah, looking at that concealer underneath these lights, even though this is the lightest shade that they have, it's lighter than the light medium beige, but at the same time, I feel like it's so like yellow toned, and I really need something that's gonna be like this light, but be a little bit more on the pink side of things. I'm gonna go ahead and just take some of that down my nose. just feel like I need a little bit more coverage and a little bit more brightness right in the center part of my face. So now we're gonna start setting all that down. Now for me, I really love the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder. The shade Fair Light is a little too dark and a little too yellow, and then the shade Fair is so ghostly white that doesn't work either. But these are the two lightest shades. So what I do is I actually mix these half and half and just kind of create my own color that totally works for my skin tone. So what I do is I take off the cap, tip it over, 1, 2, 3, yeah, that should be enough. And then take off the cap of Fair Light and 1, 2, 3. And then I just take this little metal spatula from MAC and just kind of like mix those two shades together. And then with the dry beauty blender that I keep just for powder, I'm gonna dip into there, press that into the under eye. We're gonna go ahead and set that concealer. And then I'm also gonna take and just kind of set down the lid as well. Taking whatever is left over on that sponge and just kind of touching the nose, kind of pressing that in to the nose and a little bit right at the bottom of my forehead between my eyebrows. And then to set the rest of my face on this large powder puff, I'm gonna press into this Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Pressed Powder. This is in the shade 120 Classic Ivory. And starting on my nose, I'm gonna press, press, press. Take it up onto the forehead and really just beat my face. Really press it into the foundation. I don't know, I feel like the only thing that's really that different about this tutorial versus the last one is that I use like an actual foundation instead of like a tinted moisturizer, you know? I'm still going in with the Golden Tan Photo Focus Pressed Powder from Wet n Wild, and I'm just kind of starting off my transition by kind of warming up the skin in the areas that I'm gonna put a little bit of a contour. Actually, we're gonna put a bit of a contour this time. We're gonna start to build up that contour a little bit more with Booski by Z Palette. And this is like my midpoint of my contour. We start off with the Golden Tan Pressed Powder. That's gonna give you a little bit of that color. And then this is gonna build things up just a little bit more. And then we're gonna go in with our deepest shade and really kind of sculpt everything out. Then using Tomboy by Z Palette on what I believe is a MAC 168. I'm actually gonna start by contouring right underneath my beard just to kind of slim down my neck a tiny bit more. I'm taking Tomboy right here in the back part of the cheekbone. I'm pushing it right into the sideburn area here. And then kind of bringing that color down a little bit. Now again, since I am pretty fair, I don't want to take a really dark contour down that far onto my face, because then I just feel like it reads really fake. Like you can really just see it. And now that I've paid to have some cheeks put in, I really just want to emphasize them a little bit so you can see them even more, you know? I like to take this darker color and just hit the very, very point, the very top of the recess of my hairline. I don't want to take that too far down. And this is all personal preference, but for me personally, when I see a lot of the tutorials where people are taking their darkest contour shade and really going really heavy all the way across the forehead like this, and then they only have like this little tiny bit of their natural skin tone right here in the very center of their eyebrows, and it just looks like this big like beard across their forehead, it just really bothers me. Because for me, I just feel like contouring is supposed to be creating shape and creating definition into your face if you don't really have any. Or like when people already have this beautiful bone structure. Like Jeffree Star, he has the most beautiful bone structure I've ever seen on a human. And it's like, he goes in and is like contouring all of it. And I'm like, but your face already looks like that. Like, I need to draw my bone structure on like that because I don't have any. But if you already have it to begin with, I just feel like it's wasted time in your makeup application. For blush, I'm gonna go into Melba by MAC, and this is a MAC 137 brush, which is my favorite blush brush. So once I take the pink out of my skin, I have to go back in with some blush and put it back in, which I think is pretty common for anybody. That is it right there. Again, this is for me, this is a full beat, but this is not full coverage by any stretch of the imagination, because that little zit that I have right there, you can totally still see it through all of these layers. And then I'm gonna go in and put some highlighter on top of it later so you can really see it. Yeah, I like to take a little bit of blush onto my forehead where the sun would naturally hit me. Maybe a tiny bit onto my nose just to bring a little bit of color into the center of my face. And I've shown you guys this step of my routine a few times in a few other videos. In fact, I sped through it on my last video, but my nose contour, I find that to be part of my complexion anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and add it to this video as well. I use the Sigma E25 blending brush. This was like a freebie. This is like a little mini brush. I've got a couple of these, and I use the shade Naked by Urban Decay. I'm not contouring my nose to look thinner or smaller. I contour my nose because I had a broken nose several years ago, and my nose is really crooked. I mean, there's definitely crookeder noses out there than mine, but you know, and just kind of straighten things out a little bit more. And then I kind of start my eyebrows with Naked as well, because I'm gonna go back in with Omega by MAC, and since Omega is definitely really, really cool toned, almost like a gray kind of tone, I like there to be almost like that transition from the really cool into the more like neutral warm of the shade Naked, and just give that something to blend into a tiny bit. So apparently my eyebrows decided they were in charge today, and they did whatever the hell they wanted to. They're usually not so big, but I actually don't mind them that much. So the last thing I do for my complexion before I move on to eye makeup is go ahead and lay down some more powder underneath my eyes. This is gonna kind of help to bake that area a little bit more, and it's also gonna help to catch any eyeshadow fallout. And with as much eyeshadow as I use, there usually tends to be quite a bit of fallout. So this is definitely a necessary step for me. I also like to just kind of hit my nose a little bit with that powder, because my nose tends to get really oily really fast. And if I don't lay down powder before I do my eyeshadow look, halfway through my eyeshadow application, I end up having eyeshadow that is stuck to my nose and it's already a little bit oily, and then it's just kind of a mess. And that's pretty much my routine as far as days where I'm gonna wear a full beat clown face. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do the rest of my face really quick, and I'll be right back and we'll lock it all into place. So the rest of my makeup is done. We've got our eyes, we've got our lips, we've got our highlighter, we've got all of that crap done. So now we wanna lock it all into place. Now I feel like any other makeup tutorial you watch, people are gonna take that big bottle of wet shit and they're gonna spray their face all the way down. They're gonna spray like 50 sprays, like soaking wet. I'm really oily. That just doesn't work for me. Now setting everything down with the powder at the end definitely seems to work better for me. So Urban Decay finally took notice, and they came out with the all-nighter powder, which for me really does seem to help. So I'm basically gonna take that same large powder puff that I was using to set my powders into place earlier. I'm just gonna tap into that powder and then go in and just kind of set everything down in the T-zone, definitely on the nose, on the forehead, on the chin, onto the cheeks here. Now, the one place that I do kind of avoid when I'm setting down with this powder is on top of my highlight. Now, if you feel like you've kind of overdone it and you want to tone that down a little bit, you always can go over top of that area with a powder, and that will tone things down a little bit. But yeah, and I will kind of press it onto my eyebrows just to lock those into place. And that's how I create a full beat that lasts all day on my crazy oily skin. Try it out, it might work for you too. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to hit the subscription button down below and to tell all your friends about it so they know to watch. And I'll see you guys on the next one.